Chapter 39. The Visit. But let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. Amos 5, verse 24. The city skyline blurred and slipped behind them as James guided the ute onto the highway. Ruthie sat in the passenger seat, her gaze fixed on the window, where skyscrapers shrank to silhouettes and morning mist softened the hard edges of the road ahead. They hadn't spoken much after packing up the apartment that morning. There hadn't been a need to. They were leaving the city behind, not because it was over, but because it had done what it needed to. Ruthie had said what needed to be said. The court would call when it was time, but their hearts were already moving forward. Toward the farm, toward home. A silent breath moved through Ruthie's chest as she thought about the night before. Her fingers lifted unconsciously, grazing her lips, remembering. The way James had kissed her, not hungrily, not to claim, but with love and gentleness. No one had ever kissed her like that before. No one had ever held her like a story worth unfolding. She glanced at him now. James had one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting near the center console. The sun caught the slope of his forearm. His shoulders were relaxed, eyes fixed on the road, but something about the quiet told her he was remembering too. She did love him, of that she was certain. But love was a word she was still learning how to hold. Still learning how to trust. It had once meant survival, submission, pretending. But this was different. This was safe and slow and startling in its goodness. She thought about how he'd walked her home after dinner. No pressure, no assumptions, just his hand in hers, his presence steady. He'd made her tea, sat beside her on the couch, said goodnight with a smile, and went to bed. He hadn't tried to take more than she gave. He hadn't needed to. Her hand moved before she even realized it, hovering above the center console. Then, gently, she placed it on his. James looked down for a moment. A breath passed between them. Then he turned his palm upward, lacing their fingers together without a word. His thumb brushed hers, slow and grounding. They drove that way for miles, fingers tangled, hearts quiet, the road unspooling before them like a new beginning. By the time they pulled up the dusty driveway, a road they'd traveled more times than they could count, something had changed. The land was the same, the farmhouse unchanged, but the air between them buzzed with something unspoken. Hope, love, a quiet kind of knowing. James didn't say a word. He just started unloading the car, moving with quiet purpose. There was no need to fill the silence. He was close without pressing in, offering her room but never far. Their silence wasn't the kind born of discomfort anymore. A new language written in glances, gestures, breath. Grief had once sat like a weight between them, but now it had made space. Carved out a hollow that something softer could fill. That night, they ate together at the kitchen table. No TV, no music, just the clink of forks and the soft exhale of belonging. When Ruthie looked up and caught James watching her, not with expectation, but with that quiet reverence she was still learning how to receive, her heart twisted in a way that hurt and healed all at once. Later, she stood at the window while the wind whispered through the trees outside, and for the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Not just from the past, but within herself. The next morning, the sun spilled through the kitchen window in soft golden ribbons. Naomi had offered to bring Bear back now that James and Ruthie were home. As Naomi's car crunched up the drive, Ruthie's heart beat a little faster. Bear jumped from the passenger seat and ran toward her, tail wagging wildly. Ruthie knelt down, arms wide, as the familiar weight of him hit her chest. His warm, earthy scent pressed into her like a homecoming. She held him tighter than she meant to, whispering,
"Good boy. I missed you."
James offered Naomi a polite nod as he passed, his hand brushing gently over Ruthie's in a quiet gesture of reassurance. A soft smile tugged at his lips, fleeting but full, before he slipped out toward the shed, intuitively giving Ruthie the space she needed. Naomi, ever perceptive, waited until they were both settled on the lounge with warm mugs of coffee before breaking the silence.
Well,
Naomi said, arching a brow with a mischievous grin.
something's definitely different. Spill. What happened between you and Mr. Farmboy?
Ruthie flushed, color blooming across her cheeks. A soft smile teased at the corners of her mouth, unsure at first, then growing with the kind of quiet courage that comes from stepping into something new.
It surprised me, honestly.
Ruthie began, her voice hushed but steady.
When we first got to the city, I was completely overwhelmed. All I could think about was giving my victim impact statement, getting through it, surviving it. The fear, the anxiety. It clung to me like fog. I couldn't breathe past it.
She paused, looking down at her coffee as if trying to find the right words. Naomi stayed quiet, sensing the weight of what was coming.
But then, once I gave the statement, once I actually said it all out loud in that courtroom, something shifted inside me. It was like I'd finally laid the burden down. And in that space, that emptiness that used to be filled with fear, I could suddenly feel everything else I'd been holding back.
She looked up, eyes glistening.
I realized how deeply I feel for James, and how safe he makes me feel, not just protected, but seen. So that night, we went out. Just a simple dinner. We walked for a while through the lights and the quiet back streets. And then, he stopped.
Ruthie's breath caught as she relived it. Her fingers absently brushed her lips.
He told me he loved me, that he wasn't going anywhere. And then, we kissed. Not rushed or dramatic. Just full, gentle.
Naomi leaned forward, eyes wide.
Okay, but give me the details. Was it full-on romantic movie kiss or more soft lighting and hand-holding kind of kiss?
Ruthie laughed, a real laugh, full-bodied and free.
It was both, somehow. Our foreheads touched first, like we were just soaking in the moment. Then he cupped my face so tenderly, like he was holding something sacred.
Naomi's smile softened, voice reverent.
Ruthie, that's the kind of love that heals.
Ruthie nodded, blinking back tears she hadn't expected.
Yeah, and the best part? He didn't expect anything after.
Naomi reached across the space between them and squeezed Ruthie's hand.
I think you found something real.
Ruthie exhaled, voice trembling but sure.
I think I have too.
She paused before continuing.
I think
Ruthie's voice trembled, but she didn't stop.
I was terrified that letting myself love again would mean Dylan still had power over me. Like if I opened up, really opened up, I'd be vulnerable, exposed, and I didn't want to feel small again.
She looked down at her hands, fingers twisting in her lap, and then back at Naomi.
But it's not like that. What I feel with James, it doesn't make me smaller. It makes me braver. It feels like I'm finally taking something back, reclaiming the parts of me he tried to destroy.
Naomi's eyes shimmered with tears. She reached for Ruthie's hand, squeezing gently.
Because that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking your story back, one piece at a time.
Before either of them could say another word, the shrill ring of the landline shattered the quiet. Ruthie flinched, then stood and crossed the room. She lifted the receiver with a steady hand. The voice on the line was clipped and formal.
This is Claire Holden from the Melbourne Court Registry. Am I speaking with Ruthie Matthews?
A knot tightened in Ruthie's stomach.
Yes, this is Ruthie.
Thank you, Miss Matthews. I'm calling to inform you that sentencing has been handed down.
Ruthie's grip on the phone tightened. Her throat felt dry.
Okay, Thank you for calling. I'm listening.
Dylan Watts has been sentenced to 12 years imprisonment, a non parole period of 8. The judge considered the depth of your victim impact statement and the consistent, ongoing nature of the abuse. He specifically acknowledged your courage in standing up and speaking your truth.
Ruthie didn't breathe. Her chest felt hollow and full all at once. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. But she didn't cry. She stood taller, straight, like something invisible had been cut loose inside her, and now she was standing in her own skin, unshackled.
Thank you.
She said, voice even, firm, with no trace of the girl who once flinched at shadows. When she turned back, Naomi was already on her feet, her arms open, not to fix or soothe, but to simply be there. Present,
12 years.
Ruthie said, more to herself than anyone.
8 before parole.
Naomi's eyes searched hers.
How does it feel?
It feels final.
She said.
Like I can't erase what happened, and yeah, the pain is still there. But now, I know I can move forward. This feels like the start of real healing.
Naomi stepped into her arms and pulled her into a tight embrace. No words, no platitudes, just love.
Thank you for listening to this chapter of Healing on the Land. If this story has touched your heart, I'd love for you to come join me for the next chapter. You can find it here on this channel. If you'd like to support more Christian storytelling, you can purchase the full book or make a donation using the link in the description. Your support, no matter the size, helps us to continue writing stories of faith, healing, and hope. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. May God bless you, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.